If mastering creativity allowed you to perform magic by sacrificing pieces of your own soul and pouring them into the artwork, would you do it? A memory for a masterpiece? A shred of yourself or a shred of eternity? If changing the world meant potentially losing your own mind, would you take the risk? Hi everyone, I'm Rick, and for the last 3 years I've been designing a magic system, and at the same time I accidentally reinvented the entire foundation of Tumiun, the world I've been building for over a decade now. I threw out the old D&D fireballs and built a new system, centered entirely around the thing that's most important to me, art. In today's video I'll show you how it works, and how the different cultures of Tumiun actually use this magic, all in their own unique ways. We'll work our way up from simple cartographers making maps that hold hidden knowledge, to ancient memories carved in stone. From smiths who forge swords that remember pain, to elite warriors who sing the songs of dragons. And from a people who choose to sacrifice everything to be reborn, to the very gods of Tumiun who are fueled by their dark past. But to understand any of that, we must start with the one thing at the heart of it all. The Aiuo call it Ai, the Moldbeards call it Crea, most humans call it Soul. It is inside everyone and surrounds everything. Imagine it as a pool inside us all. A small trickle called the inflow feeds it, and a small stream called the outflow flows from it. Through our senses, inspiration comes in, and through our deeds and actions, it comes out. Skilled artists subconsciously learn to dam their outflow, letting pressure build. When they create, they release this stream, entering a hypnotic state called the flow that channels raw soul into their creation. The result is beautiful, but the work remains subtle and subjective. The people of Tumiun call this type of creation low art, though it's the only type of art we know here on Earth. But Tumiun's artists take this one step further. Their creations don't just inspire, they remember. The soul pool is not just an empty pond, it is filled with life and color. Beautiful flowers float on the surface. These are emotions, joy, sorrow, love. There are also leaves that flow into the pool from the world around us. Some are small, simple snippets of knowledge. Others are larger, complex, containing entire memories of moments, places, and people. Some sink to the bottom or cling to the banks. Others float off and are lost again. High artists are creatives who found a way to wade into their pool as they are working, picking specific subjects to place into their outflow. They do this by focusing on the emotion or memory with all their might, never once letting go of it. They cannot be thinking about the next brushstroke or chisel strike. Their mind is with the subject. The art must come naturally. While they work, small apparitions known as shimmers might appear that signal that a memory or emotion is flowing into the work. A map shows a ship sailing by or a dragon flying from peak to peak. The creator knows the work is complete when the subject fades before their mind's eyes like mist in the sun. It is gone from their soul, now locked inside their work, or woven into their performance. And so the subjective becomes objective. A high artist's journey begins with small steps. Factual knowledge is easiest to capture. The best way to tell if a map was made by a high artist is to see if there's any text on it. A skilled enough cartographer simply pours the names of places into their icons. Touch the dry ink and the name will echo in your mind. The artist, of course, must then touch up on their knowledge, often having documented it extensively before giving it away. Emotions are the next step. The petals on the flowers of emotion are many and grow back with time. A death dancer might focus their fear as they fight, instilling it in the hearts of all who see their powerful movements. But as with everything, balance is key. Blocking too many petals will dull the emotion, perhaps even kill it. Mikorasa, one of the immortal masters, intentionally cut out her entire fear flower, carving it into the Tree of Terrors. So dawned the Age of Monsters, and Mikorasa never felt fear again. The same happened with the parents of the Aiuo, who danced all of their hope into Ea, the life-giver. A new people were born, but they never strayed too far from their tree ever again, for the world beyond was hopeless to them. But then come the hardest things to capture, memories. They are difficult to grasp, though the fresher the memory, the easier it is to catch. But they cannot be replenished like simple facts. You can't just reread the feeling of your child's hand in yours. You can't look up the stomach-dropping awe of finally seeing the walls of the world. Factual knowledge is a tool you can pick up, but a personal memory is a part of who you are. The artist knows their work is done when they can no longer find the memory, a piece of themselves now contained within their creation. The moment has vanished from their mind, but comes to life in the work, for all to see. A wanderer may come upon a column covered in strange carvings, and as they trace its patterns, hear the sounds of an ancient battle. Or he finds a ruined stone circle fallen and snowed over, and within it is captured the memory of a perfectly warm summer's day from a time long forgotten. As they focus on the work, they don't just remember, they experience it. They see and feel that ancient moment with a clarity impossible for a normal recollection. They are in that summer's day, feeling the warmth on their skin, their eyes watching the stones, but their mind living the moment. For the one who created it, this is a bittersweet reunion. They look at their own work in the same way a stranger does, but now they can experience that perfect externalized moment forever. They have traded the warm, fading comfort of an internal memory for the cold, perfect and powerful immortality of the artwork. And though now arguably more real than the original memory, it is fleeting, hard to grasp once you look away. The memory seems to drift as a leaf upon the inflow, through the soul, touching it in wondrous ways, but ultimately flowing back out again. If you don't own the work, the memory isn't yours to keep. It leaves only an echo, never as permanent as it was in the mind of the artist before they gave it away. Now, of course, most memories aren't all that hard to come by. The high markets are filled with trinkets containing recollections of delicious meals and warm baths. But the most compelling high works contain far more exotic memories. A painting that recalls how it felt seeing the walls of the world from up close. An ancient stone tablet containing an encounter with one of the stone giants of old. A bestiary written by seasoned horror hunters that holds the sounds and sightings of the most dangerous monsters. Or a poem that remembers love at first sight. But high art is more than something that's sold at markets or found in ancient ruins. For some of Tumiun's peoples, it's at the very core of their culture. For the longer living races in Tumiun, collecting memories has an entirely different connotation. For in time, the leaves of memory that are not contained will begin to fade. This is called the memory span. Around 200 years after entering the soul pool, if not sooner, the memory will inevitably find its way into the outflow and slip away unnoticed. Humans will never have to deal with this, so long as their minds are not overcome by illness. But in the culture of the Moldbeards of Finikfeel, the deep cousins of the Delvers, the fading of their earliest memories marks the end of their life. They might live to 250, but they choose to say their goodbyes and begin their final creation while their memories are still intact. They call them Tharlim, or endstones. Once the process starts, the Moldbeards don't stop. They work for days on end, humming strange songs as they willingly empty their entire soul pool into a precious gem, transferring all of their memories and knowledge into it. They let their long life flash before their eyes one last time, hoping to finish the work before their body shuts down from thirst or fatigue. What's left behind is but a husk of their former selves, clutching the Tharlim in their hollow hands. They have become what the people of Tumiun call drained, a person still alive but bereft of soul. The hollow figures lay themselves down to die, allowing the Mold Mother to consume their bodies, joining the dreams of the deep, their essence now mirroring their moments in the facets of the living stone. Traditionally, the Tharlim were then placed atop the Doskulim, sacred waystones along the march of the stone giants. This was the path the Titans took every spring and every autumn. On their way back into the far north, the stone giants would collect the Tharlim and carry them on one last journey into the far untamed unknown. But at the height of the great exploration, the stone giants vanished, and the souls of the Moldbeards began to pile up. Now the Magrusa keep them safe, as family heirlooms or sacred ornaments, waiting for the day the stone giants return. But it is said that every so often they overhear the stones whispering to each other, singing soft songs of lives once lived. Quick side note, I had planned to talk about the Moldbeards a lot more, and how they work together with the deep fungi to let their literal dreams shape their surrealistic halls. But I decided these guys need their own video if I want to truly do their lore justice. So stay tuned for that. And while on the subject of deep dives and lore, I just want to quickly give you an update on my upcoming Kickstarter campaign, the Cartographer's Tome of Tumiun, a guide to the walled world. It's an art book and world-building compendium rolled into one, with all of my illustrations, maps, lore, and short stories compiled into one complete guidebook for the world of Tumiun. For this video alone, I already cut about 2 pages worth of lore that just couldn't fit in the script, but it's all gonna be in the tome. Unfortunately, I've had to postpone the campaign a bit, aiming now for a launch early next year. If you'd like to help me make the tome a reality, please click the link in the description to give the campaign a follow, so that you'll be notified when it goes live. Thanks. The longest-lived people in Tumiun are the woodsfolk of Arkiun, the Aiuo. Since their lifespans are 10 times their memory span, they are the masters of recording their own lives. But they don't capture their memories in gems or paintings. They carry their art with them always. With ink and needle, they tattoo lifetimes of memories onto their own skin. To pour a clear memory into an abstract work is a feat most humans rarely accomplish, but the Aiuo have perfected it, capturing a detailed moment in but a single line or even just a few pinpricks of ink, which can still take them hours of meticulous meditative focus. The eldest are completely covered in these life marks. Gliding a finger over the markings allows them to see their own ancient history. When their wandering days are over and the time comes to take root, their soul transfers into their Aiuo, the tree they've carried on their back since they were but a seedling. And as their old bodies feed the new roots, the memories and the life marks rejoin the tree, allowing their souls to live on eternally in a garden of their dearest moments. But high art is just the beginning. There are some in Tumiun who are not interested in merely capturing a memory or emotion. Through rigorous mental training, they have learned to pour such vast quantities of soul into their works, and often many different memories at a time, that they alter reality itself, allowing the memories to run free, forcing the very world around it to remember them, manifesting past experiences and bestowing them upon the present as physical truth. A high smith might pour their memory of being horribly burned into a blade, causing all who are touched by the sword to cry out at the agony of the memory. But when a true smith does the same, the metal doesn't just remember the heat, it actually begins to glow with the same heat that burned the artist, and so the memory of fire becomes the flame. True art has countless practical uses, and many of those who can afford it use true works to make their lives easier. A cloak that remembers warmth, a backpack that remembers the weight of a feather, a bowl that infuses bland food with memories of the flavors of a fine feast, or streetlights made by glassblowers filled with the memories of firelight and sunsets. A wanderer might carry with him a true work containing a concoction overfilled with memories of a perfectly calming drink of tea. Adding a drop of the potion to a cup of water cleans, heats, and flavors the drink, soothing the nerves of all who enjoy it. But some true works are far more legendary, not just for their power but also for the price of their creation. The breath of Asasa, an old wooden mask, allows its wearer to breathe underwater. To carve it, the artist sacrificed so many of her memories of air and breath that upon its completion, her body simply forgot how to inhale. Her students found her suffocated, clutching the mask to her face in a final, panicked pose. On the outskirts of the Morgullian desert stands a strange stone. In a time long past, a wandering clan came upon it. They were banished into the Badlands to die. The people were close to death, the first few had already been taken by thirst. But with them was a masterful sculptor, carrying nothing but his tools. With his final strength he began to work the stone, carving into it much of his soul and as many of his memories of clean water as he could conjure. He remembered the taste, the feeling of it going down his throat. When the work was complete, a small trickle of clean water ran from the rock. On his last legs he quickly put his mouth under it, but when he tried to drink it, he choked, coughing it up again and again. His body had forgotten how to swallow. His clan tried to force it down his throat, but all it filled were his lungs, and what little of the water entered his stomach was sped up just as quickly. His body no longer recognized it, thinking it to be some unwelcome poison. He laid himself down and accepted his end, knowing that his people were saved. These are the tales parents tell their children to warn them not to take their art too far, to not dream too big. In short, just don't try making an infinite source of matter, that rarely ends well. But there is one other risk, one that isn't easily avoided by simply lowering ambitions. It is a slow process, and it creeps up on even the wisest artists. You may remember how the Moldbeards willingly emptied their entire soul pools in a days-long creative flow, resulting in a hollowing of the mind that left their bodies as a husk. They become one of the drained, and they choose willingly to die shortly thereafter. But this process does not always happen by choice, and only rarely does it mean the end of a life. And true artists are most at risk, for they sacrifice so much of themselves. Some lock themselves away, sacrificing memories faster than they can make new ones. Their works become dark and absurd. Their soul pool begins to run dry. Like a tea bag wrung out too often, they lose their essence. They become depressed, paranoid, searching desperately for inspiration. Suddenly they realize they haven't slept in days or felt the sun on their face in weeks, but it's too late. The walls of their soul pool erode away and turn to a barren creek, unable to hold anything in. Sometimes they find the willpower to leave their dens, but their entire balance is off. Their soul almost seems to flow in reverse. They suck the inspiration out of a room, feeding off emotions and memories. You will find them begging on the street corners with crazed faces and empty eyes. But they do not beg for food or coin. They beg for songs, stories, memories. But you mustn't give it. You mustn't even meet their leeching eyes, for once you open your soul, they will take more than you will want to give. You may start to sing a song and find you've suddenly forgotten the words, but the figure in front of you continues the lyrics with a vacant smile on their face, and the words sound like the first time you've heard them. The place where drained work can become a soul pit, leeching inspiration from all who come near. These are often remote cabins or strange gardens, or even small studios hidden in the busy heart of a sage city. In their secluded ateliers, they create work so deprived of soul that they take inspiration instead of gifting it. These are known as drain works, and some of the most dangerous artifacts in Tumiun are among them. Once they have your focus, you'll need tremendous willpower just to sever the connection and look away. Luckily, there are some who dedicate their power to destroying drain works and preventing artists from going down this dark road. But before we dive into the Sages of Sestiun, I just want to give a huge shout out to this video's sponsor, Milanote. You've actually seen me using it on screen a few times throughout this video. It's a visual tool for organizing projects that's perfect for complex ideas like this one. And I'm not kidding when I say this magic system was a monster to organize. For years I tried to map all this out in just old-fashioned text docs, but it was a nightmare. A system like this isn't a list, it's a web, and that's exactly what Milanote is for. It's a visual whiteboard where you can throw all your ideas, images, notes, and to-do lists and actually see how they're related. For world building, it's a total game changer. I honestly had a few moments during the making of this board where I was dragging these little connecting arrows around and suddenly just realized, wait, these two things completely contradict each other, I need to rethink this. You get to zoom out and see the whole picture in a way that a wall of text just can't give you. But you can also zoom way in. My favorite part of Milanote is that you can nest boards inside of other boards. So right here I've got my main magic system board, but if I double click on the soul pool, it opens a whole new board with all of my deep dive notes on how that works. Or I can very easily include a mood board for when I'm brainstorming a new illustration, like these reference images I collected for the Moldbeards. There's even a Milanote web clipper extension that you can add to your browser, which allows you to add images and links directly to your boards without any need for tedious copy-pasting. And of course, it all syncs to the mobile app, so when I'm out and about and I get a new idea, I can just toss it in there and it's on my desktop when I get home. And whenever you want to start a new project, Milanote has this long list of awesome ready-to-go board formats you can choose from. Though I decided to do my own thing by dragging a huge image of the map of Tumiun into the background and locking it. And just like that, I basically turned the entire board into an interactive world map. So look, if you're a world builder, a writer, or DM, or any creative person who has a million ideas and no idea how to organize them, I seriously recommend checking out Milanote. It's completely free to sign up and use, without any time limit, and you can get started right now using my link in the description. It'll absolutely help save your brain when you're tackling a big project like this one. A huge thank you to Milanote for sponsoring this video. I really appreciate you guys for allowing me to spend more time making videos. Now, on the subject of saving your brain, let's talk about the Sages. The entire continent of Sestiun is shaped by art, with bustling sage cities forming a place for all artists and craftsmen to hone their skills to perfection. Each is a stronghold dedicated entirely to one specific talent, the city of painters, the city of smiths, the city of music, etc., all ruled by the order of sages. The sages believe that not everyone who can should become a high artist, let alone a true artist, and not unsupervised at least. They know the risks. They have seen the hollow-eyed drained begging on street corners, and they understand that not everyone has the self-control or the mental fortitude to walk that path. Their entire purpose is to find those with great talent and guide them, to keep an eye on powerful artists and ensure they don't lose themselves to their own creative drive. And by carefully following the Order's wisdoms, they may become far more powerful than they ever could have been without them. Their reign provides many guardrails. Every week ends with a day of rest for artists, on which they are encouraged to lay down their tools and lower their voices, taking in plenty of soul outside the city's walls. And even then, the sage cities are intentionally green and spread out, filled with nature and life, often situated on hilltops overlooking sprawling vistas on far horizons. All this with the intent of keeping the inflow of their inhabitants high and their minds inspired. If your art shows enough potential, or enough danger, you may receive a knock on your door from one who wears the sage cloak. To become one of them, you must first pass the tutelage. Your usher will teach you how to truly control your flow, how to manage your soul pool without losing yourself in the process. Only when you can prove you have mastery over your art, and not the other way around, are you accepted into the order. A true sage in training might show off his skills by painting a beautiful landscape onto his canvas, but instead of just capturing it, he transforms the valley before him with memories of a misty morning. As his brush lays on the white paint, a thick fog rolls in before him, mimicking his wondrous work. Once you pass the test, you will earn your first sage stripe, in the color and material corresponding with your talent. Blue canvas for painting, crimson velvet for drama, grey silk for metalwork, etc. And the longer the cloak, the more powerful your works are deemed. The greatest sages have such precise control over their flow that they barely need to create anything to bring a memory to life, especially when the memory only just entered the pool. They might touch a candle's flame and instantly guide that leaf into their outflow, lighting another one with the memory of the heat, also forgetting its pain as a nice bonus. Sages of such skill have a high chance of becoming a grand sage, one whose robe touches the ground. These figures are the stuff of legends. Adadon the Loud won a war with a single song. Hiru the Peacekeeper prevented one by sculpting a single statue. Dondara the Graceful danced her entire forest back to life after a fire destroyed it. And Kir the Waymaker carved doors that, when opened, led to lands on the other side of Tumiun. All of these legendary feats were only made possible because of the intense spiritual discipline they trained to perfect as a sage, allowing them to walk that very fine line between an unforgettable artist and an artist who forgets themselves. But there are of course countless other artists and cultures who found ways of keeping the balance without them ever having met a sage. Let's take a little trip to the far east of Tumiun, to the land of the dragons. Throughout the breathtakingly beautiful landscape of Avanima, the children of Dragashu reside. Every autumn they migrate from all over Tumiun to settle there and mingle with others of their kind. The weather beasts are powerful artists in their own right. To hear the dreadful song of a flock of dragons flying overhead is to know that the weather of their homeland will soon follow. Some have even mastered turning their breath into the fundamental elements those weathers are made of, fueled by memories of the natural world. When the dragons brought humans from Sestiun to Avanima, some sought to study their way of throat singing, a technique known as orutao. But they quickly realized that it is no simple feat to sing memories of fire into flames, or to use memories of rain to make the clouds weep. The dragons seemed to possess a soul pool far larger than that of a human, so the Dragashin, the dragon monks of Avanima, found a loophole: silence. They take spiritual vows that go beyond simply not speaking. The Dragashin believe, with good reason, that soul enters through the nose and exits through the mouth, and they take this idea very seriously. They breathe only through the nose, with their mouths firmly closed and often covered. They don't eat, speak, or even yawn, and they have even learned to drink water nasally. A Dragashin of the sun might sit atop ancient hilltops, basking in the light of the warm sun or hearing the primordial roar of a mighty mountain of fire. They sit as still as stone, making sure no inspiration escapes them. They dam their soul pool like no other artist can, completely stopping their outflow, while taking in as much soul and as many memories of their Tao, their preferred weather or element, as they can. When they finally feel oversaturated with soul, they get up and travel the continent, quietly, their mouths still closed. They move like ghosts, not drawing any attention to themselves, but deep inside, their soul pools are bursting at the seams. When they find their purpose, perhaps a farmer in need of sunlight or a forest in need of rain, they take off their mask and release the river. As they sing their orutao, the world around them listens. The clouds slowly part and the sun breaks through, or they gather and begin to darken. A wind whips up, or the cracking of thunder draws near. The very air is turned to mist, or a summer cloud might drop a thin layer of snow. And like the dragons, with powerful enough memories, even the Dragashin can turn their very breath into the things they sing of: fire and ice, mist and rain, thunder and wind. But as with all things, humans find ways of turning even art into a weapon. After the Summer of Death, when the purple blood of Boros spread even onto the shores of Avanima, some of the Dragashin used their gifts to fight off the growing population of horrors. They became the first Shidetakar, the silent warriors. But a warrior does not have time to meditate on a misty mountaintop for 2 weeks straight, so they had to find a different source of memories instead. In time they developed a harrowing tradition, though they were not the ones to start it. They were inspired by the dragons when they witnessed young hatchlings being thrown into a fire, clawing through the burning embers to escape, creating memories so violently strong that they were not mere leaves, but entire branches entering the soul pool. And some of them took root, blossoming into twisted trees within the pool, becoming a source of memory that does not deplete so easily. These are known as rooted memories, traumatic experiences that dictate the very shape of our soul pool. They are the moments you want to get rid of, but can't. Picking multiple identical leaves from them and casting them into the outflow is easy even for an artist with only little control over their flow. And like the petals of emotions, the leaves grow back. The young children of the 6 Shidetakar houses are tempered like steel, hardened by trials to be forged into elite warriors. Without warning, a young boy may find himself lost in a maze of cold mist, his parents nowhere to be seen. He cries out, but all he hears is the echo of his own sobbing. He is left there to find his own way out, and if the boy emerges, he will never be the same as he was. When he comes of age, he will take the ancient vow of silence, saving his soul for when it's most needed. And with his songs, the boy that feared the mist becomes the very reason why the mists are feared. After most of the beasts have been slain, the Shidetakar began to dream bigger. Soon all of Avanima was under their iron fist, and the villagers came to fear the sound of their songs. When the low, guttural droning of their orutau is heard over the hill, it is already too late. An unnatural fog rolls in, thick and suffocating, carrying with it the psychic weight of the warriors' nightmares. In that blindness, the fighters move like ghosts, wielding the very elements themselves as weapons. Lightning strikes the burning houses while the rains wash away the blood. They are the monsters most think dragons to be. But only when you don't pay their taxes. Otherwise, the Shidatakar are actually pretty good at keeping your village safe from monsters. Anyway, enough of Afanima. Let's take a look at one more continent, all the way on the other side of Tumiun. Let's visit the Silaman of Ambarna. While the Shidatakar derive their power from holding on to their past with a death grip, the Silaman of Ambarna view such heavy souls with absolute disgust. To them, a memory is not a weapon to be honed, but a burden to be shed. They value above all else the idea of a clean slate. Well, maybe not above all else, because they are also obsessed with beauty, vanity, youth, and, most importantly, gold. But it is their belief that having too many leaves in your pool furrows the brow and wrinkles the skin. But the Silaman don't have to work as hard to get the memories out as the Moldbeards do, because they simply aren't interested in capturing them. They prefer to let them fly free. When a Silaman's body grows old or their soul bitter, they can choose to undergo the Silken Rite. They are laid upon a bed of grass in a sacred green circle. Shamans then completely cover the skin of the subject in hundreds of soul-winged caterpillars, the life form they see as the ultimate embodiment of the great soul cycle. The Silaman were the first peoples to learn that moths and butterflies have a knack for collecting soul, and are even capable of extracting memories, or gifting them. And during the rite, these caterpillars feast on the very soul of the subject, spinning it into a silken golden cocoon. For 2 weeks the body lies in stasis, kept asleep and hydrated by the true songs of the shamans. Family and friends gather around the sleeping silk, singing, laughing, dancing, providing a constant stream of inflow that weaves a new, clean soul for the person inside, made entirely of the love of others. When the 2 weeks are up, the soul wings emerge and flutter off, carrying the old life sunward. When the silk is cut open, a new person emerges. Their body is rejuvenated to that of a young adult, their skin smooth again and slightly silky. They remember nothing of their past life, and their eyes, once a single color, now have a new color alongside the old one. They are given a new name and begin a new life, curious and unwritten again as they had once been when they were but a child. It is a culture built on the idea of starting over, a stark opposite to most other peoples in Tumiun who work so hard to remember. But the rite is not entirely without a price. You can see it in the very old Silm who have undergone it many times. Their skin becomes almost paper thin and translucent, and their eyes are a kaleidoscopic collection of colors. They have cheated death, but their bodies have become fragile prisons, and the bones can be heard creaking beneath their uncannily smooth, silken skin. And sometimes the ritual goes awry. The moths don't hatch, or the soul was simply not yet willing to let go. One eye shows a new color while the other does not, and deep inside, 2 half-souls compete for one body. But now it is time for us to move on to the final chapter, addressing the most powerful artists who ever lived. Far above the sages, above the Shidatakar, and above the Silaman stand the masters. To the common folk they are gods. To the learned they are the ultimate artists, immortal beings who have pushed every rule of magic to its absolute limit. They were born in the days of old, and then forged much in the way of the Shidatakar, but by the hands of the Silaman. They captured the combined offspring of their own people and their rivals, the Hirumai who inhabit the southern continent of Zurak. The Silaman believed these hybrids possessed the best traits of both peoples, and they called them Kwantar, half-bloods. They subjected the most promising of these children to intense, calculated trauma, creating wounds so deep and rooted memories so strong that they would serve as an unwavering source of memory. Barum, the Master of Storms, is often depicted with jagged lightning bolt scars running up and down his body, remnants of the many strikes he was forced to endure. Taktakat, the Glassblower, Master of Flames, hides his body beneath blazingly colorful glass garments, concealing skin rumored to be entirely burned. And Ikta, the Master of Time, bears invisible scars of a different kind. They do not just remember the storm, the fire, or the flow of time. They are birthed by it. But trauma alone does not make a master. So the Silaman unleashed another tool, glorification. The Silaman are known to embellish the truth, and so they did when they spread word across the world of powerful, immortal artists who had come to save them from the threat of the Hirumai. They gave them onomatopoeic names that were easy to remember and to relate to their specific powers, like Barum for thunder and Taktakat for flames. a tradition the humans of Sestiun later adopted for themselves. And to appease these new gods, the people of Tumiun would have to make art in their names, tributes depicting their great deeds and their power, offering up parts of their soul to feed the pools of the masters. And seemingly it worked. In time, their pools turned to seas of soul instead. They became a walking, self-fulfilling prophecy, with some even believing they're only immortal because everyone thinks they are, though others have far more sinister theories as to how they unlocked eternal life. Some artists, known as tributaries, dedicate their entire lives to making art for the masters, and spreading their name even further. A cloud shaper might sing memories of Barum's figure into a storm cloud, giving off tremendous amounts of inspiration to all who see it. And their tributes carve a channel directly to the soul of the master, allowing the god to take far more inspiration from the work than any other beholder might. And so the masters spend most of their time traveling the world, seeking out this art to feed their soul seas. But they cannot visit every shrine or painting. For that they have the soul wings the Silman also use in their Silken Rite. When a soul wing lands on your carving of a master in a distant village, it sips the soul within, sometimes even stealing the memory it holds, and carries it back to the god. To have your work visited by even a single moth is to know that you have helped the masters remain the masters. But despite their terrifying origins and power, they are capable of profound beauty. Legend says that Tara, the mistress of fate, and Ikta, the master of time, fell in love on the shores of a pool in the heart of the long forest. Hoping to let go of the burden of their foresight, they cast out their visions, their memories of tomorrow, in a duet that lasted for days. They poured their soul into the water, creating the pool of time, a miraculous lake which shows not today's reflection, but tomorrow's. Hesh, the master of masters, practices silence as the Drakashindu, but his dam holds back an ocean of soul. For him to utter a single word is to unleash a flood of power, instantly commanding reality. The world's history is defined by the handful of times he has broken that silence. The masters are the living proof that art, when taken to its absolute extreme, doesn't just shape Tumiun, it rules it. And that's the system, well, the basics of it anyway. I'd absolutely love to hear all of your thoughts. Any questions or opinions on how it works, or maybe some loopholes I need to work out, please let me know in the comments. And I'd actually like to invite all of you to share a bit about your magic system in the comments below as well. How does it work, what can it do, and how can it backfire? If you don't have a magic system in your world, I'd love to see if you can come up with any cool ways in which you'd use my system, because I'm sure there's hundreds of possible aspects to this magic system that I haven't even considered. What memories would you capture? What items would you craft? If you could choose, would you join up with the sages, or the Moldbeards, the Dragashin, or the Aiuo? I'd love to hear it. Now, before I share some final things, I wanted to take a moment to thank all of my incredible Patreon supporters, YouTube members, and those of you who have purchased prints on my website. If you'd also like to help me keep making videos, you can do so by becoming a YouTube member for just $1 a month. And if you'd like to hang a little piece of Tumiun on the wall, consider buying a print of the Cartographer's map of Tumiun, or any of my illustrations, on rickscreations.com. Oh, and if you want to help make my Tome of Tumiun a reality, be sure to give the upcoming Kickstarter campaign a follow. Link is in the description. Now, believe it or not, what I showed you today is really only the tip of the iceberg. This video is just the foundation, and I had to cut dozens of examples and clarifications just to keep things flowing. We didn't even touch on the Great Soul Cycle, or the art of the Hirumai, or the Nordmen, or the fact that not all of this magic is even done on purpose. The people of Tumiun know that soul is always flowing. Carry a walking staff with you on enough adventures and it may seem to remember the path. I also didn't even discuss the fact that memory is, of course, subjective. We don't record reality like a camera, we interpret it. Sometimes we even invent it. The people of Tumiun know this just as well, and it has split the art world in two. You have strict factions like the truth seekers who strive for absolute objective clarity in their high art, but then you have entire movements that embrace the surreal, the fictitious, creating powerful magic from memories of things that never actually happened. It's a fascinating rabbit hole about the nature of truth, but it's a long discussion for another day. In truth, the magic of Tumiun is a complex spectrum, and not everything fits neatly into the categories we talked about today. All analogies have their flaws, but I think those complexities are what make a system more interesting, more real. I wasn't focused on building a hard or soft magic system, I just wanted to build something that felt human, something that felt like an extension of myself. The entire system really started with a simple idea. What if magic wasn't like art? What if it was art? It would be as versatile as creativity is in our own world. Different cultures would use it in completely different ways. The only limit would be your creativity. But it still had to have stakes and sacrifices, which is where the drain come from. But in the end, this entire magic system stems from my belief that art is the closest thing to magic that we have in our world. We tap into something ancient whenever we create, something that inevitably spreads beyond us. Art simply breaks the rules. Inspiration is a resource that can multiply infinitely, but only when we give it away. It's the most beautiful contradiction of all, and it's real. Thank you so much for watching. Stay tuned for a video about the Moldbeards next month. May your flow be steady and your soul ever full.